The divorced cousins, the estranged aunt, the colleague who could not be seated near the open bar. The rehearsal dinner organized, the hotel room block arranged, airport pickups coordinated for 6 out-of-town guests, her own vows written, and Daniel's gently restructured when he showed her a first draft that was mostly inside jokes nobody else would understand. All of it done while working full-time as a project manager. 2 massive projects running simultaneously. And here's the question nobody asked her not once in 14 months. Are you okay? Is this too much? Do you need help? Not Daniel, not her mother, not even Cass. The answer, and I want you to feel this, is that Elena had stopped expecting anyone to ask. In her home office, a drawer. Inside, a cream-colored spiral notebook labeled Wedding Operations. Every password, every vendor contact, every timeline in 15-minute blocks, every contingency plan. On page 37, in red pen, if anything goes wrong on the day, call Paolo first. He has a key to the service entrance. She had thought of everything. What she had not planned for was Cass. 3 o'clock. The garden looked the way Elena had imagined it. Better, actually, because the afternoon light fell at an angle she had not dared hope for, turning everything warm and golden. The jasmine on the arch was exactly right. The string quartet played something slow and serious she had chosen from a playlist built across 6 Saturdays. Walking down the aisle on her father's arm, she saw Daniel's face when he saw her. For one moment, just one, she let herself feel it fully. The beauty of it, the realness of it. She had built this day from nothing, and it was standing, solid and lovely, all around her. She smiled. Daniel whispered, "You look incredible." She squeezed his hand and thought, yes, and I planned every detail of this moment. 37 minutes. The efficient, found through a referral, vetted through 3 phone calls, was warm, precise, and funny in exactly the right measure. The vows landed the way good vows do, with a quiet ripple through the audience, and 2 or 3 people pressing their hands to their chest without realizing it. By every visible measure, perfect. That perfection lasted exactly 40 minutes. Because the reception began. And Cass had been rehearsing something in her head all morning. Something building for 11 years. She had decided quietly and deliberately that today was the day she was going to say it. Pale stone walls, long wooden tables, low candle arrangements Elena had personally measured for sightline clearance so guests could see each other across the table. She had thought of even that. The room filled. Glasses were raised. Elena moved through the first hour the way she always moved through high-pressure events. Present, warm, attentive, calm. Greeted every table, noticed when the bread arrived late to table 7 and caught the server's eye. Noticed when Daniel's uncle was seated too close to a speaker and quietly asked the coordinator to have it adjusted. She was, as she had always been, the silent infrastructure of the room. Daniel laughed with his groomsmen. Cass watched Elena from across the room. Later, one of the bridesmaids would say she had seen something strange in Cass's face during the cocktail hour. A kind of hardness, like a door that had been open for years, slowly pulling shut. Nobody said anything at the time. The speeches began at 7:15. Feel the temperature of this room right now. Everyone loves Cass. Everyone thinks they are about to hear an 11-year tribute to a friendship. Everyone is holding their champagne. They have no idea what is coming, and neither, not yet, does Elena. Does. Daniel's best man went first. Warm, funny, a little long. The crowd loved it. Elena's father spoke next. He was not a man of many words, and he used the ones he had carefully. She has always known how to hold things together. I do not think any of us have fully understood that until right now. Elena looked at her hands. Then Cass stood up. Burgundy dress, hair up, objectively stunning. She picked up the microphone with the ease of someone who had imagined this moment many times. She smiled at the room. I have known Elena for 11 years, she began. 11 years of watching her plan, organize, manage, and control every single thing around her. A soft laugh from the crowd, recognizing Elena fondly. And I have to be honest with you all tonight. A beat. Elena didn't build this life on her own. The laughter faded. This dress, this venue, these flowers. None of it would exist, and I mean none of it, without the people around her who actually made things possible. The room had gone still in the way rooms go still when something is shifted and no one is sure yet how bad it is. Elena has a gift for taking credit, Cass continued, her voice smooth, almost gentle, for making herself the center. But I want you all to know, because I think it is important, that what you are seeing tonight, this beautiful day, Elena is the beneficiary of a great deal of generosity she has never properly acknowledged. She paused. She looked directly at Elena. She was always a little bit of a charity case, and the rest of us, we loved her anyway. The room went absolutely silent, not the polite quiet of a pause, real silence, the kind where you can hear the candles. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Stay right here, because what Elena does next changes everything. 1. Elena set her champagne glass on the table. The glass made no sound on the white linen. 2. She smoothed the front of her dress. 1 slow, deliberate motion. Her face did not change, not one muscle. 3. She stood up. Across the room she walked, without hurry, without performance, without aggression, the way a woman walks when she already knows what she is going to say. She held out her hand to Cass. Cass, perhaps surprised by the calm, perhaps expecting tears or anger or a scene, handed her the microphone. Elena turned to the room. She looked at Daniel first. His face was white. She gave him a small nod. I have this. Then she turned to her guests. I want to thank Cass for that introduction. Her voice was level, clear, no tremor. Because she is right about one thing. This day did not happen without the generosity of others. She paused. The generosity of Paolo, our gardener, who implemented a precise jasmine placement diagram I emailed him 3 weeks ago and did not complain once. Confused laughter from the crowd. The generosity of our photographer, who told me this week that my briefing document was the most organized she had received in 12 years of shooting weddings. More laughter now. Nervous, starting to understand. The generosity of the catering team, who honored a contract I negotiated personally and saved us $4,000. The room was fully awake. The generosity of the string quartet, who played from a playlist I spent 6 Saturdays building. Her gaze shifted, just slightly, toward Cass. And Cass, you are right that I have been surrounded by generous people. What I would like to add, gently and with love, is that the vendor deposits for this venue, this catering, and these flowers are paid from my personal account. The receipts are in my folder, which is on table 3 if anyone would like to review them. Not a single person breathed. I am not a charity case. I am the infrastructure. There is a difference. She set the microphone on the table. She sat down. She picked up her champagne glass. She took a sip. I am not a charity case. I am the infrastructure. 9 words that compress the whole story. But stay with me. The story does not end here. What happens over the next 6 months is the part that truly matters. The reception continued. People danced. People ate. The cake, 3-tier almond sponge with elderflower cream, chosen after tasting from 4 bakeries, was served at exactly 9:30, as scheduled. Cass left early. Quietly. Without saying goodbye. Nobody asked her to leave. She simply understood with the clarity that comes after a great miscalculation that the room had shifted against her. Elena danced with her father. She danced with Daniel. She danced with Rena and Joss, who held her hands and did not mention the speech at all, which was exactly the right thing to do. Later, when the last guest had gone and Daniel and Elena sat on the edge of the stone fountain in the garden, shoes off, ties undone, the venue emptying quietly around them, Daniel said, I did not know you had paid for all of it. Elena looked at the water. You never asked, she said. Not unkindly, just truthfully. He was quiet for a long time. I should have asked, he said. She nodded once. Yes, you should have. They sat for another 20 minutes without speaking. The candles inside were being blown out one by one. The string quartet had packed up and gone. The garden was almost dark now, just the fountain light and the moon above the stone arch, still wrapped in jasmine, still exactly as she had planned it. Daniel put his hand on hers. She let him. But she was already somewhere else in her mind, somewhere quiet and clear, turning over a thought she had been carrying for longer than she could name. A person can love you and still not see you. Being loved is not the same as being known, and being known is not the same as being valued. She had been settling, quietly and persistently, for the first of those three things for a very long time. She did not say any of this out loud. She simply sat with it, the way she sat with most things, patiently, precisely, until she understood its full shape. Daniel is not the villain of this story. But he is not entirely innocent either. And Elena, in the quiet of that fountain conversation, began to understand something she had been deferring for a long time. 3 weeks after the wedding, they moved into the house together, a 4-bedroom place in a quiet suburb, cream-colored stone, bay windows, a garden with a fig tree in the back corner that Elena had already researched how to prune. She had found the house. She had negotiated the price down by $14,000 from asking, using a market comparison document she had built herself. She managed the conveyancing, the move, the insurance setup, the utilities transfer. Daniel had packed boxes. He had done it cheerfully and with love, and without any understanding of what the other 40 things on the list were. This was, as Elena was beginning to understand, the pattern. Not malice, not deliberate laziness. Just assumption. The assumption that things were handled, that systems existed, that food appeared and bills were paid and appointments were kept and relationships were maintained because that was simply how life worked, not because someone specific was working to make it work. That someone was Elena. I want to pause here, because I think a lot of you know exactly what I am talking about. Not a dramatic betrayal, not a villain. Just the quiet, daily, invisible weight of being the person who holds everything together while the world assumes it holds itself. She maintained the household calendar, color-coded, shared digitally with Daniel, who looked at it occasionally and never once updated it himself. She managed the finances, 2 joint accounts, 1 personal account, a savings tracker, a monthly budget review. In month 4, she caught a billing error from the utility company and recovered $230. She maintained the relationships, birthday cards to both families. Daniel's mother's food allergies, no tree nuts, low sodium, she had memorized. Flowers to his sister after a difficult surgery. His old university friend who sometimes reached out when struggling. Respond promptly, ask about his father. She maintained the house maintenance log, a spreadsheet with columns for vendor, date, warranty expiration, next scheduled check. She tended the garden. The fig tree, once she had researched its pruning schedule, responded with new growth by spring. She worked full-time. She did not complain. And she maintained Daniel. Not in a cruel way. Not in a way she ever consciously named. But she knew, in the fine-grained way she knew everything, that he needed certain conditions in order to function well. Calm when he came home from a difficult day. No surprise obligations he had forgotten. Conflict resolved before it grew loud, because loudness made him shut down, and shutting down made things worse for everyone. So she preempted. She absorbed. She read the temperature of a room the moment she entered it and quietly adjusted whatever needed adjusting before he noticed anything was off. This was invisible labor of the deepest kind. Emotional architecture. Built new every single day, dismantled every night, rebuilt the next morning. It cost her in ways she was only beginning to fully account for. October. Elena came home at 6:45 after a long day, a project handover, a budget review, a conflict between 2 team members she had quietly mediated over lunch. She came home to find Daniel on the sofa, laptop open, takeaway containers on the coffee table. Not cleared, not sorted. Simply left where they were. This was not unusual. What was unusual was that he looked up and said with genuine frustration, "Why did you not book the boiler service? I have been cold all week." Elena stood in the doorway. She still had her coat on. She looked at the takeaway containers. She looked at the laptop. She looked at his face, genuinely irritated, genuinely confused about why a task had not been done. And she felt something she had been not feeling for a very long time. She felt tired. Not physically. Deeper than that. The boiler service is in the maintenance log, she said calmly. October 14th. Today is October 4th. Well, I did not know that, he said. The log is on the shared drive. You have access. He made a dismissive sound. I do not have time to read spreadsheets, Elena. 3 more seconds she stood there. Then she took off her coat, hung it on the hook by the door, and went upstairs. Sitting on the edge of the bed in the dark, she did not cry. She thought about the takeaway containers, the calendar he never updated, his mother's birthday, his sister's flowers, the 12 years of wedding photography briefs, the seating chart with 17 interpersonal conflicts navigated alone while he had laughed with his groomsmen. 6 years, and he does not know the boiler appointment is 10 days away, and he is annoyed at me for it. When she came back downstairs, Daniel had cleared the containers. He could see she was upset. He was sorry. He said the right things. She accepted them. She made dinner. She was warm and present and kind. But something had shifted. Not broken. Shifted. Like a foundation that has taken one crack too many. Still holding, still standing, but changed in a way that cannot be unchanged. That was the moment. Not the wedding speech. Not any of what came before. Standing in her coat in her own doorway, being criticized for a task that did not yet need to be done, that was the moment Elena began to make a different kind of plan. Not about revenge, about truth. Over the next 4 months, Elena did something radical. She stopped. Not all at once, not dramatically, not in a way anyone would notice. At first, she stopped volunteering information. When Daniel's mother's birthday approached in November, Elena did not remind him. She did not buy the card. She did not order the flowers. She waited. The birthday passed. Daniel forgot. His mother called, quietly hurt. He was confused and apologetic. It had just slipped his mind. It had never slipped Elena's mind. Not once in 6 years. But nobody had ever noticed that. Watch closely. Because she does not stop everything at once. She stops one thing at a time, like pulling threads from a fabric. And each thread she pulls reveals how tightly the whole structure depended on her. December. She stopped managing the social calendar. 3 invitations went unresponded to. A dinner was missed because nobody tracked the date. A Christmas party at Daniel's colleague's house, one Elena had managed the gift purchase for 3 years, arrived with no gift and a late RSVP. Daniel was embarrassed. You usually handle this, he said. I know, Elena said. Would you like to handle it this year? He said yes. He did not handle it. January, she stopped preempting the grocery shortages. The coffee ran out, the olive oil, the particular hand soap Daniel liked from a specific brand he had never once ordered himself. He noticed. He was frustrated. He went to the shop and bought the wrong brand. He did not connect the dots. February. She stopped managing the emotional temperature of the house. She stopped reading the room when he came home. She stopped preempting the moods. She stopped adjusting the environment around his needs before he had even expressed them. The house felt different. He could not name why. He said once, "You seem distant." She said, "I am the same as I have always been." This was true in one sense. In another, it was the most precise description of the change she was making. She was becoming, deliberately and carefully, exactly herself. No more, no less. No invisible architecture around his comfort. No emotional padding around his blind spots. Just Elena. As she actually was. He found it unsettling. She found it clarifying. Something unexpected was beginning to happen. 9 years as a project manager. Always regarded as dependable, thorough, quietly excellent. The person other departments called when something needed untangling. But in those months of quiet withdrawal at home, her professional energy was returning in a different form. Not the stretched, distributed energy of a person managing too many systems at once, something more concentrated, more directed. She began to speak up in meetings she had previously sat through in observation. She put her name forward for a cross-departmental initiative she had been watching from the sidelines for 2 years. A process improvement proposal she had been carrying in her head for months was finally committed to paper, finally sent. Her manager read it, then read it again, then called her into his office and said, "Why have you been holding this back?" Elena looked at him. "I was not holding it back," she said. "I was maintaining other things." He did not fully understand what she meant. She did not explain, but she filed it away in the same careful way she filed everything for later use. 3 months after the wedding, a message arrived from Cass. "I want to talk. I know what I said was wrong. I do not know why I said it." Elena read it once. She thought about it for 2 days. Then she wrote back, "I think you do know why you said it. And I think, when you are ready to be honest about that, we can have a real conversation. Until then, I need some space." She sent it at 9:07 on a Tuesday morning. She did not wait for a response. She put her phone down, finished her tea, and opened the day's work schedule. This is the thing about Elena. She is not cold. She is not calculating in a cruel way. She is simply someone who has spent a long time being clear-eyed about people. She knew exactly what Cass's speech was. She had always known what Cass was carrying. She had chosen for 11 years to hold space for it. Until she did not. Cass did not respond for 6 weeks. When she finally did, the message was long, pages long, full of the kind of explanation that is really a justification dressed in the language of self-awareness. "I think I was jealous. I think I have always been jealous. But I also genuinely believe that you make people feel like they cannot measure up." Elena read it all the way through. She typed a response. Then she deleted it. Then she typed, "Thank you for telling me." She put the phone face down on the kitchen table and went out to check on the fig tree. Late winter. The tree was bare, but the branches were strong and the roots were deep. She had seen trees like this before. They always came back. Spring arrived with a clarity that had been building in Elena like water behind a dam. No dramatic moves had been made, no confrontations, no posts, no statements, nothing broken. She had simply been watching, and what she had been watching was this: a marriage in which she was load-bearing and invisible, a dynamic in which her presence was assumed, her effort was consumed, and her labor was never once named by the person who benefited most from it. She loved Daniel. She had loved him since the kitchen on a Tuesday with the wooden spoon. But love, she had come to understand, was not the same as sustainability. And she could not build a life on a foundation where only one person knew the foundation existed. Remember what her father said at the wedding. She has always known how to hold things together. He was the first person who came close to seeing it. Now, in this quiet spring, Elena was finally ready to let herself be seen. On her own terms, starting with herself. She made an appointment with a solicitor, found through her own research, 3 consultations, 2 referrals, 1 final choice. She organized the financial documentation, pulled together the records, joint accounts, individual contributions, property, savings. Every financial record since the day they moved in. She had maintained them all. This made things very straightforward. 4 evenings at the kitchen table after Daniel had gone to sleep with a cup of chamomile tea and the quiet house around her. She wrote down what she needed. She prepared the folder, a new one, white this time, no label on the front. She did not hurry. She did not second-guess. She simply prepared. Sunday morning. The light was good. That particular kind of May morning that is warm without being hot. The garden visible through the kitchen window. The fig tree in early leaf. She made coffee for both of them. She set his mug in front of him. She sat down across the table and placed the white folder between them. He looked at it. He looked at her. She said, "I would like to talk about separating." He went very still. She did not fill the silence. She had learned a long time ago that silences are not empty. They are full of things people need to say. He said, "I did not know it was this bad." She said, "I know. That is the problem." He said, "Can we fix it?" She looked at him. with care, with honesty, without cruelty. "I have been fixing things for a very long time," she said. "Asking me to fix this too is not something I am able to say yes to right now." He looked at the folder. "Is everything in there?" "Everything," she said. "It is organized by section." He almost laughed. It was not funny. But it was so completely, devastatingly Elena that he did not know what else to do. Elena leaving is not the end. It is the beginning. The part where everyone who benefited from her invisible labor begins to feel for the first time the weight of her absence. None of them were ready. She had arranged temporary accommodation, a furnished flat, clean and quiet, in the part of the city she had always liked. Her move happened over 3 Saturdays, quietly, 1 carload at a time. Her clothes, her notebooks, her kitchen things, the good knife, the tea set, the chamomile. On her last trip out, she paused at the door to the garden. The fig tree was bright with new leaves. 2 years she had spent learning how to take care of it. She had written the pruning schedule into the maintenance log. She left the log on the kitchen counter, open to the right page. He will need it, she thought. She closed the door behind her. The first week, Daniel managed. He was capable in the broad strokes. He could cook, he could clean after a fashion. He was not helpless, but the fine grain of things and the invisible texture of a well-maintained life began very quickly to fray. The boiler service came up. He found it in the log on the right page. He called the vendor, but the vendor asked about the model number and service history, which were in a subfolder he had not seen. He had to call back. The appointment ran 2 weeks late. In those 2 weeks, the hot water pressure dropped. His mother's medication refill, tracked on a specific schedule because of a pharmacy subscription Elena had quietly set up, went late by 11 days because nobody tracked it now. His sister called, wondering why the birthday flowers had not come this year. Standing in the kitchen with the phone to his ear, he realized he had never once sent those flowers. He had known the flowers arrived. He had thought, with no real thought, that they appeared because that was simply what happened. They appeared because Elena made them appear. None of this is petty. None of this is small. This is a life, a real, functioning, maintained life, built from thousands of quiet decisions made every single day without asking for recognition. And now that person is gone. The life is beginning to show it. The garden suffered first. By June, the beds Elena had kept clear were growing over. By July, the rows by the back fence had developed black spot. Nobody had noticed the early signs in May, as she always had. The fig tree, hardier than the rest, survived on its own root system. She had chosen well. She came for a weekend visit in June, the first since Elena left, and walked through the house with the careful eyes of someone assessing damage. The house was clean. Daniel had worked hard on that. But it felt different in a way she could not immediately name. Standing in the kitchen on Saturday morning, she said, "Where is the appointment book?" "What appointment book?" Daniel said. His mother blinked. Elena kept an appointment book. "For my prescriptions." She always confirmed the refill with the pharmacy 2 weeks before. "I did not know that," Daniel said. His mother looked at him for a long moment. "Daniel," she said carefully, "how much do you think Elena was doing that you did not know about?" He sat down. He did not have an answer. That question sat in Daniel's chest like a stone, because he had started to answer it. And the answer was bigger than he had thought. And it was still getting bigger. That night he found the maintenance log properly. He sat at the kitchen table with it for 2 hours. 47 pages. The boiler, the roof, the gutters, the appliance warranties and service histories, the garden beds with their planting seasons and feeding schedules, every vendor, every tradesperson, every service provider, organized alphabetically with notes on each. On page 31, Daniel's mother, pharmacy subscription, pharmacist contact, medication names and dosages, refill trigger date, emergency protocol. On page 38, annual relationship maintenance, his sister's birthday, her preferred flower and chocolate brand, card sent by what date, his work colleague's wife's name, their children's names. There was a page for the neighbors, a page for household consumables, brand, size, where purchased, subscription, or manual reorder. He sat there in the quiet kitchen. The house was clean. The lights were on. The appliances worked. But he felt, for the first time, the full shape of what had been holding all of this together. It was not the house. It was her. He turned to the last page of the log, a single line, written in her careful handwriting, in the blue pen she always used. It said, "If you are reading this and I am gone, you now have everything you need. You always did. You just did not know where to look." He stared at it for a long time. Then he put the log down very carefully on the table. For the first time since she had left, Daniel cried. Cass called in October. Not a message, a call. Elena answered. A moment of silence. Then Cass said, "I was jealous because you always made things look easy. And they were not easy, were they?" "No," Elena said. "They were not. I thought you were just naturally organized, like it was not effort for you." "It was significant effort," Elena said. "I just did not perform the effort for an audience." Cass was quiet. "That is the thing I never understood about you," she said finally. "You never needed credit." "I needed credit," Elena said simply. "I just stopped expecting it." A long pause. Then Cass said something Elena had not expected. "I think I needed you to need me," Cass said quietly. "And you never did. Not in the way I wanted. So I told myself it was because you were cold. But it was because you were self-sufficient. And I did not know how to be around that without feeling like I was disappearing." Elena sat with this for a moment. "That is the most honest thing you have ever said to me," she said. "I know," Cass said. "I am sorry it took 11 years and a microphone." Elena looked out the balcony window at the lavender in the evening light. "Come for tea sometime," she said. "When you are ready." The call lasted 40 minutes. They did not repair the friendship that night, but they made space, just barely, for the possibility of something honest in the future. That was enough for now. 4th floor, a quiet street. 3 rooms, a small balcony, and enough light in the mornings to make tea worth making. She had furnished it slowly and deliberately. Nothing bought in haste, nothing kept out of habit. Every object in the flat was there because she had chosen it. On the balcony, 2 pots of lavender and a small fig tree, a cutting taken on her last morning at the house. It was rooting well. She is not hiding here. She is not recovering the way people recover from disasters, patching wounds, trying to return to normal. She is building something that has never existed before, a life arranged entirely around her own knowledge of herself. No invisible labor for absent gratitude. No systems maintained in silence. No folder, no one ever reads. She returned to work with a new kind of clarity, the kind that comes when you strip away everything that was draining your capacity and discover, with some surprise, that your actual capacity is significant. She was promoted within 8 months. The promotion was not the point. The promotion was simply the visible signal of something that had always been true. She was exceptionally good at what she did. Her organization knew it now. She began to write, not for publication, not yet, but for herself. In the evenings, at the kitchen table, with chamomile tea and the city outside, she wrote about systems, about invisible labor, about the specific and devastating cost of competence consumed without acknowledgement. She started a new notebook, cream-colored, spiral-bound, labeled simply, "Mine." Daniel wrote to her twice. The first letter was a real apology. Not the defensive explanatory kind she had learned to recognize as non-apologies in disguise. Real. Specific, honest, without expectation. He wrote about the maintenance log, his mother's prescription, the flowers his sister never received. He wrote, "I think I confused your competence for the absence of need. I told myself you were fine because you always looked fine. I used your resilience as permission not to look closer. I'm sorry." She read it twice. She felt it land. She wrote back, Thank you for this. I believe you mean it. She did not return. The second letter came 3 months later, shorter, more settled. He had started the garden maintenance himself, badly at first, better now. His mother's prescription was on a new system he had personally set up. He had called his sister and sent belated flowers with a note that said simply, "I should have been paying better attention." He wrote, "I am learning what it means to hold things. I did not understand before that holding things was a skill. I thought it was just something that happened around you. I understand now that it was you. I am sorry I never said that while it mattered." Elena read the second letter at the kitchen table on a Saturday morning, the lavender visible through the glass door, the city quiet below. She felt something loosen. Not dramatically, not with tears. Just a small, quiet release. The kind that comes when something that has been waiting to be acknowledged finally is. She wrote back 3 lines. "Thank you for learning this. It matters more than you know. Take care of the rose. It needs copper fungicide in spring before the leaves fully open." She folded the letter, slid it into the cream-colored folder, and went to make more tea. Spring again. Almost exactly 1 year after she had walked out with the fig cutting. Elena sat down and did something she had never done before. She made a list, not a task list, not a schedule, not a maintenance log, a list of what she had done in the 3 years of the marriage, the 6 years of the relationship, the 11 years of the friendship with Cass. Every system, every invisible task, every relationship maintained, every crisis quietly prevented, every problem solved before anyone knew it existed. 3 evenings to complete it. When she finished, she made a cup of tea and sat with the list for a long time. It was, she thought, extraordinary. Not extraordinary because of what it proved to others. Extraordinary because of what it proved to her. She had always known she was capable, but seeing it written, concrete, specific, real, was something different. It was evidence, not for anyone else, for herself. The fig tree on her balcony put out its first fruit in September. She ate one, small, warm from the afternoon sun, sweeter than she expected. Standing on the balcony with the city spread out below her, she thought about nothing in particular. This was new. The not thinking, the not planning, the not managing. Just standing with a fig in her hand and the sun going down. This, she decided, was what peace felt like. Not the absence of difficulty, the presence of herself. There is a kind of woman you may know. She is the reason the bills are never late. The reason the relationships do not fall apart. The reason the house runs and the family functions and the birthday flowers arrive on time. She is the infrastructure. And infrastructure, by its nature, becomes visible only when it fails. The roads you do not notice until there is a pothole. The system you do not think about until it goes down. This is the cost of competence performed in silence. It teaches everyone around you that you do not need acknowledgement, that you do not have limits, that your labor is ambient, like heat, like light, simply there. Until the day it is not. Elena did not take that mic at her wedding for revenge. She took it for one reason, accuracy. She had built that day. She had paid for that day. She had managed, organized, and breathed life into every detail of that day. She was not a charity case. She was the architect. And on the day someone tried to erase that, in front of everyone, in the clearest possible way, she simply corrected the record. Not with anger, with receipts. Elena never cried, not once. Not at the wedding, not at the fountain, not the morning she left, not the night she read Daniel's second letter with the lavender visible through the glass door. That stillness, that is the real story. Not the mic, not the receipts, not the 9 words. The stillness of a woman who already knew her own worth, who had always known it, and simply waited patiently for the world around her to catch up.